Hello, everybody, and welcome to Cinema Savvy. This is myself, George, joined once more by Sam for a very different video, because normally we have Sam on to talk Andor, or we've had Spider-Man in the past, but we are here talking The Last of Us. Not the game, but we'll talk a lot about the game. This is, of course, the TV series, which begins airing on the 15th of January. A series long in the waiting, and this weekend we've had our first full feature-length trailer. And we're going to discuss that and talk a little bit about our history with the game and start getting hyped up for next month. But before we get into more details, Sam, how are we doing tonight?
Good. I've got to be honest, that hearing the intro, like whilst waiting in silence was so eerie. Hearing those clickers, it literally felt like I had something behind me. But no, I'm so excited.
Well, you did help with the intro because I can't remember what video we were doing. We were doing a video and we were talking about The Last of Us after. And I was like, I really want to do a good intro, but HBO's nabbed the clicker HBO anthem. And then we were talking about it. I was like, okay, I'll still do an intro. And then yesterday, obviously, for anyone curious, I'm in a new setup. This is the new room. There'll be posters up in the coming weeks. So I can't wait to show everyone. Actually, if anyone is watching live, comment with what poster you think I'm going to have it behind me, because I'm going to tell you this right now. It's not one that you've seen on a video before. And there'll be two behind me, actually. So you've got two guys. But aside from that, this is going to be really fun to talk about. And I'm glad you've not come out as a Last of Us fan, but you don't get to talk about games much on film and TV channels. So the fact we even got a conversation about the game in the first place was pretty fun. But aside from that, everybody at home, comment your thoughts on The Last of Us. Please do get involved. We're going to try and figure this out spoiler-wise as well. So I think for this video today, this isn't the series. Yes, it's a trailer for the series, but these aren't our weekly discussions. They will happen in January, which we'll go over at the end, because I've just given that part away. If you haven't played the game, do not watch this video, because me and Sam spoke yesterday. We didn't know how we want to plan on doing this, but we think we're going to bring up some of the stuff from the game. Now, I know there's a lot of people that played the game, both games, they loved them, or they loved one of them, and it's been out 9 years. It's been released on PS3, PS4, PS5. It's been on all the different versions. We're happy to talk spoilers for the game, but just in case you're someone that has not played that game, I know not everyone has, and you really want to watch the TV series and you're curious about our thoughts on this, I would say for your own sake, maybe jump out of this video, because things are going to happen in the show that you don't see coming, which we all do, and we're probably going to talk about in the trailer. And I think if me and you can get our spoilers stuff in this trailer discussion, that's going to make it easier come January for our weekly videos. So that is the lovely piece of groundwork. And aside from that, if you are new to the channel, we've got a lot of things happening. I say we've got a lot of things happening. We're in a very quiet stage because we're planning lots of things happening for January onwards. One of those shows is going to get announced in 2 weeks tonight, which I can talk about. That's going to kickstart in January. Of course, we've got The Last of Us. We've got a lot of stuff happening as we head into a new year. I'm very behind on the new releases. I missed out on a lot of cinema trips recently. There's a World Cup on. There's moving all this, which wasn't easy. So, I missed out on Indiana Jones trailer discussion, but I keep waffling. So go find us on social media, Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy, a link to Redbubble. You can pick up some merch in the description if you want to help support the channel. But aside from that, I keep talking. Sam, I'm going to hand over to you. Kind of, just so people at home, anyone that has played the game, I want to know your sort of background with The Last of Us. Maybe if you can remember when you first played it, heard about it. And even before that, we've got a... Martin, this looks very good. How do I access HBO? Will it be available on Sky Atlantic? HBO basically is Sky Atlantic, Martin. So if you have that, you are good to go. We're going to get it Mondays in the UK, which I think is the old Game of Thrones slot, which is 2 a.m. on a Monday morning. So yes, Sky is going to be showing this in the UK. Sorry, Sam.
No, I was going to say that really took me back thinking about Game of Thrones on a Monday. I remember me and my friends actually had to wait. We had to work all day or university, whatever it was, and then not see spoilers to then come together on Friday evening to eat. No, on Monday evening to eat and watch the Game of Thrones episode that was out. So that was my season 6 of Game of Thrones, basically. But Last of Us, interesting thing, because it was one of those things that came out, and I feel like it was, at least within my circle, it was a slow build up. I think because not many people had a PlayStation 4, And I think it took a little bit of time to get momentum. It wasn't really until 2014, end of 2014, that my friends were talking about it. And then I remember 4 of them were in a house share and they were taking turns playing on it on one of their PlayStations. So when I came over, I was watching. I was like, "Well, this looks different." And then I had to play. I think my first bit that I played on was when they are going through the school section, because I kept dying a lot because it was just so brand new. But no, once I had a taste of it, I really wanted to play more, and then luckily I ended up living with one of the people, the guy who owned The Last of Us, Nick, and I played the entire thing on his console, and then I later got it myself. So I had a couple of playthroughs with that, and that's how that got started. And then 2020, Last of Us 2 came out. Thank God Last of Us 2 came out, because it helped save my summer a little bit whilst we're all stuck inside. Yeah. So, and it was great immersion anyway. I mean, having a post-apocalyptic world whilst you're going through a pandemic is actually quite comforting in a way. But yeah, so that's kind of like the really quick story of The Last of Us. But been 2 years since I've played either game at least, so it's been a little bit of a while, so it'd be good to dive in.
No, definitely. And it's kind of bit of this that I can remember actually this game. I want to say, I can say I remember it coming out. Obviously, films, you see trailers, you see announcements, development. Obviously, you get that for games, TV, everything. And I distinctly remember this because I didn't see a single trailer. I didn't know anything about the game. In fact, I remember is when I was younger and I used to work at like a Sainsbury's, like we all did when we were studying and stuff. And this game had come out and everyone was coming in to buy it. And I was working this Friday morning. It was the same day Man of Steel came out. So I think we're talking 13th of June, 2013, I think, or around that week. I'm very good with release dates with films I used to be hyped for. And I just remember one of my best friends texted me like, "This is the people that made Uncharted. This is meant to be like the best game ever made already." And I was like, okay. Obviously, I'm not 18 at this point in time. I'm 16 and a month off turning 17. So I had to ring my dad to come in to buy it for me. Obviously, the old, I worked there. I hid the last copy, so I got the game. And I remember that night, went to the cinema, watched Man of Steel, loved Man of Steel, came home the next day, was like, okay, let's play this Last of Us game. And that was the weekend. And I went to college on the Monday, and one of my other best friends there was like, I've got this great game. I was like, is Last of Us? He goes, yeah. I was like, oh, mate, I'm smashing it. He goes, I've finished it. I was like, what? So I was instantly hooked. Over the years, I've played it many times. I loved the online. But when the PS4 remaster came out, the online was really good from what I remember. And then I think last time I played it was the same as you. I replayed this just before The Last of Us Part 2 came out. And then I took obviously, if you worked from home during COVID in lockdowns, taking annual leave was weird because you couldn't really do anything. I took 2 days off to play The Last of Us Part 2, the Friday and the Monday. So I literally had 4 days. And I think what made it worse is I had obviously like a headset to play it all on, because this game I take seriously. I don't like wearing headsets when I'm watching films or playing games, but for Last of Us, I wanted it. And I basically just spent 3 days in my room wearing a headset, and like my parents would come in to check I'm alive and stuff. And obviously I can't hear anything because it's soundproof. So that was an experience. That second, I've not played it since. I really want to. I've downloaded it yesterday on my PS5. And I'm thinking, do I play it before the series starts, or do I let series 1 end and then play it again after? Because I just don't know. What do you think?
At this point, I would say wait till after, because I feel like a different perspective might be good on it. And it's hearing what you talk about, you playing Last of Us Part 2 is just really it's like the same thing. It was literally all lights were off because it was peak summer. Window was open, door was open. I remember everyone was outside, barbecuing, drinking, all of that stuff. That's just how it could be. And then I'm just sat upstairs, sweating, headphones on,
fan on as well.
Yeah, legit.
Was there a heat wave in 2020? There's like a heat wave every year.
Really great summer, because it started being really warm in March anyway, so it was quite good timing when we did get put into lockdown, because people were out in gardens all the time. Windows and doors were open from mid-March. I mean, we had a really good, had a really good summer. But yeah, that I think that's why it helps me love The Last of Us 2 even more, just because for me, even though it was such an awful time, it was a really great time to kind of plug in and just block out the world. So yeah, but no, I would definitely say for both games, I'd say let's wait until afterwards. I'm hoping to get a PS5 before I play The Last of Us again. Hopefully, if I can get one. But
I think you can get them more. You know what's ridiculous? We're now 2 years since the PS5's come out in the last 3 weeks, and like they're still hard to get stock. And I remember when it came out, I had 2 pre-orders from 2 different companies because I took this seriously and I didn't trust them, and I didn't sell the second one. I cancelled the pre-order for anyone who wants to kick off. And I remember the usual. This is gonna sound really like sort of pathetic, but you get some people that are like, I don't need that console because I play the last one still. And like, it's not a competition. Like, you don't need to buy a new console.
No,
some people will get very competitive when there's no need to be competitive. So, everyone's going to be able to get one in a few months anyway. Well, here we are 2 years later, and I know a lot of people who haven't been able to get one. Now, I will say though, 2 years goes by, I think people are missing out. They haven't already got one. As in missing out if they wanted one and been like, I know you're not into football much, but it's like when people are, I can't ever get tickets to football games. I'm like, you can get tickets to football games, but you're not on the website at 10 a.m. on the dot when they go on sale. That's my mindset, which is a bit psychotic.
Yeah, and at the same time,
I know football tickets today as well.
And there are some available, but they're either they have no disc drive or they come with this game and that game and that game, and I don't want any of those games. I'm not paying the extra price for that.
You don't want crap bundle. You don't want a crap bundle. You don't want crap accessories.
And I don't want to play a football game. It's not my bag. I don't think I've played one since FIFA Street, and even then I wasn't very good.
They don't give you discs anymore, so you can't even trade it in. No. It's a digital download that you're stuck with forever.
So, no, I'd rather. I just want one with a disc drive so I can play films on it and stuff, and that's
what I've got. It's my 4K Blu-ray player. But without diverting too far, that's our PS chat. So everyone, comment below if you're able to get a next-gen console, because I'm curious. Even the Xboxes were hard to get at some point as well. We've got Martin. Will one of your posters be a Krennic poster? I wish. Now, no one ever saw this in the old room, so I have a signed Rogue One vinyl by Michael Giacchino. I went to a concert that him and David Arnold did together at the Albert Hall a few years ago, so I got loads of stuff signed from them. That was above my desk. That's going to probably go behind me. And I've got a Rogue One poster, which I don't think I could ever really have on display because it's at the side of my room. So you might see posters I've never had. But I have met Ben Mendelsohn before. It was a great day. It was a great moment. But he signed my Ready Player One poster. We've also got Carl in the comments. Lovely to see Carl as well. Special shout out to Carl. He knows my adventures. I've been building Lego Optimus Prime today. This is what we're up to so far, stage 3. Throughout the Brazil game, but I'm diverting again away from The Last of Us. Sam, so what we're going to do, anyone curious at home, when we do these trailer discussions, we play the trailer. We're not reacting. We've seen it. We've spoke about it. We don't do the fake faces that a lot of people do. The thumbnails work. We know people. I think did Mr. Beast create the template, and fair play to him because he's got 110 mil subs. But yeah, let's figure this out. So I'm gonna screen share it on my end. You can tell I've not done this for a couple of weeks. Post Spielberg series, post Andor. It's been a very weird sense of not doing anything on the computer, so forgive me. But I have a trailer up now, and we're going to hit play, and we'll see how it goes.
If you don't think there's hope for the world.
And I'm just going to turn down a little bit so we don't get copyright strikes, but we're not going to talk over it if we don't need to.
You haven't seen the world, so you don't know. You keep going for family.
I guess, Sam, what we'll say, we'll talk about some of the key points after.
No. Your cargo.
Why are you so important?
Somewhere out west. They're working on a cure. I think what really impressed them was the fact that I didn't turn into a monster.
If she so much as twitches, don't.
It's okay.
If I'm taking you with me, you do what I say when I say it. got any advice on the best way west?
Yeah, go east. You come this far, then you know what's out there.
You're not gonna scare us.
Scared him?
You have a greater purpose than any of us could have ever imagined.
Be careful who you put your faith in.
You might not be her father, but you were someone's.
You trust me?
Okay, right. They're always weird when you segue from a trailer into talking again. How many times have you seen that trailer, out of curiosity? Because I'm going to be blunt. This was only the second time I've seen it.
I think it's either the third or the fourth. I definitely saw it once again straight after I saw it for the first time. And then I've either seen it once or twice since. Although this could have, I think this is like the fourth time I've seen it now.
And what were your initial thoughts when it first came? I mean, for anyone curious, this really astounds me. This sounds really bad, but it's not intended to. Brazil Comic Con, out of nowhere, has suddenly become a humongous convention for everyone. So there were Indiana Jones trailer, which I missed because the computer wasn't here to do a video on. I had an incredible thumbnail design ready, by the way. I'm not being arrogant. It was great, and it's been ready for weeks. There was a Transformers trailer. There was a Last of Us trailer. There was a Marvel panel. There was a Guardians of the Galaxy trailer, and a lot of other ones. I didn't even know this convention existed.
No, I didn't either, and I saw the two leads from Heartstopper go on stage, and honestly, the audience was massive, like one of the biggest ones I've seen for a convention. And I had absolutely no idea. I didn't even realize it was a thing at all.
No, exactly. I've not seen Heartstopper. I heard incredible stuff earlier this year when it came out, and I know that the book series is very well. The graphic novels, aren't they?
Well, I have,
successful.
funnily enough, have just been on the fourth one yesterday. So that's just a plug for Heartstopper because it needs more plugging. I mean, it's gonna get it's finished wrapping. It's just it's just finished, wrapped up filming. So
definitely. And I brought a comment up during the video, but it's too nice not to bring it properly. Carl, The Last of Us is an amazing game. If they can replicate the story, we should be in for a treat. And this is kind of it. Simon including Left Behind is a nice touch. Carl, I bring my comment about Ellie because I'm not far off your opinion, if I'm being honest. But if I'm going to give my initial thoughts on the trailer, as someone that, again, has a very personal connection with the game as much as anyone can have, if I'm going to talk about just following this ever so briefly, there were film rumors from the get-go. The moment this game started selling, I remember Maisie Williams was the name thrown around for like all of the mid-times, which is peak Game of Thrones. I mean, you spoke before we went live. You had the Hugh Jackman as Joel from the get-go because Prisoners came out the same year. And obviously then you mentioned our Logan is kind of The Last of Us in its own lovely way. The Maisie Williams rumors stuck and didn't leave. There was talks of Sam Raimi producing it at one stage. This went through development hell. And if I'm going to talk about the landscape of film and TV from this trailer as well, I don't think a film could have ever done service to this game. I know there's the conversation of video game movies not working. The beauty to me of The Last of Us is that it's not this epic game where you jump in on an adventure for a couple of hours. You kind of messaged me really well, so I'm not going to nab your point, but it's a journey. The game was a journey for multiple. I think was it 12 hours probably to do the story.
yeah, I think so.
And in the modern era, the golden era of TV, it had to be a TV series. It's as simple as that. And I haven't spoke about some of the behind the scenes. So when this was announced, when the film rumors finally died, I remember Neil Druckmann, who's the producer of the game, the director of the two games. Sorry, I remember he kept tweeting like Firefly Slimballs a couple of years ago, and there were these rumors about The Last of Us being a TV series, and then the mega announcement came in, and I have not seen the series yet. It's on my list to watch before this starts, and it has been for a while. Have you seen Chernobyl, which of course was also name dropped in the trailer?
I haven't, no, but and to be fair, I don't know many people personally who have, so I've not really got firsthand thoughts and reactions to it. But I have heard good things just based on things that I've read about it on the web, and the things I don't want to look into it too much at all because I think one day I would want to watch it. But based on just everything that is in this trailer, I can only presume that Chernobyl looks, gorgeous. Just in that sense. Story wise, I have absolutely no idea, and I do want to keep it that way for now.
No worries. I'm the same as you. I've not seen it. I'd heard a lot of really good stuff about it. I remember it did very well at the Emmys. And I think that's a big thing. I think it's Craig Mazin or Mazin who was the showrunner for that. And I think, again, when you're taking this humongous IP from a video game into TV, to have the game director come on board who doesn't really have TV experience, to pair him up with someone that's off the back of an incredibly successful show at HBO as well, the same production company doing this. Listen, I don't mind Disney Plus, but the Disney Plus Last of Us would be very different to the HBO Last of Us, I think. Doesn't matter, they make older rated stuff. It would just... This is a HBO needed production, if I'm being really blunt with how I view TV and where not expectations go, but where the quality is there for you to be safe on that announcement. I think HBO is the brand that everyone wants. And since that announcement a couple of years ago, I've been so hyped. And then obviously the castings come in. So we want to quickly give our thoughts. Probably one of the most surprising casting announcements of my lifetime was Pedro Pascal as Joel, and the reason I'm smiling is because it is such incredible casting. But I don't think anyone ever saw it coming because of The Mandalorian. And I know that he doesn't have to wear the suit. I know that they've got 3 actors that come stand in as The Mandalorian, and they all work in sync with one another. But I did not expect to see Pedro Pascal jump into The Last of Us on top of Mando. He's doing loads of stuff at the moment. What were your thoughts on him being cast? I mean, versus the trailer. I mean, let's talk about the trailer. I was worried about Pedro Pascal ever so briefly when he was cast. I don't know why, because I love him. And I think it's when you've got an actor that you love, playing a character that you love as well. It's that tricky. I don't want any bias coming in, but all my sort of qualms are relieved with these trailers. But what do you think with Pedro?
Yeah, I mean, gotta say, first announcement, I was shocked. I was absolutely like, what? I mean, but in such a positive way as well. I was like, okay, I love him anyway, unequivocally. I mean, he's such, just as an actor, just as a person, just seems such a positive light, just so down to kid around, yet takes the work seriously. And you can see that in some of the things that he's done. But yeah, I think, like you, the fact that he was doing Mandalorian and it was like, okay, you're going to do another TV show. We know, in terms of scheduling, how difficult it is for people to commit to such massive projects. And we know, for example, Henry Cavill with, Witcher, and, what that has done with DC and obviously the fallout with that. So yeah, I was a bit unsure about whether, it would actually work, but clearly they are making it work. And I feel like, I don't know if either HBO and Disney have spoken or just something or something, because I mean, I feel like you have 2 massive shows. Mandalorian is one of the biggest shows for Disney, and I'm quite certain that this is going to be one of the biggest shows for HBO. And so to share a leading man in both is going to be a tricky thing, but hopefully they'll make it work. In terms of the actual trailer itself, he does a great job. I see him. It is difficult to picture a character when you kind of do have that kind of... It feels like a personal connection. It sounds crazy, but it's not. I think there's such investment in a game like The Last of Us, and especially over the past, 10, 15 years, where a lot of video games have gone towards the online multiplayer. It's focused less on stories. I kind of feel like Call of Duty really kind of set the standard for video gaming going in a certain direction, and that it doesn't matter to have important storylines or have a campaign because people can enjoy an online multiplayer. But Last of Us is one of those games that came out and just made it known that you kind of still need that, and it's so important to have a campaign because it can create some of those amazing stories. And The Last of Us is such a great story anyway. And Joel as a character is he's just so defined. I think I see clearly who Joel is. We see his past. We are in his present. We play as him for the majority of The Last of Us 1. And he's in The Last of Us 2 as well. And we have emotional reactions to him. Yeah. We really want this guy to get through everything. So to see a live action version is one thing anyway. To see Pedro Pascal, who a lot of people love, is another thing, because I think that adds an emotional resonance to it. And to see him acting so seriously, which he does in Mandalorian anyway, and I know he did in Game of Thrones, but we're not going to have seen him do things like he's going to be doing in the show. And yeah, it's difficult because I just think about video game Joel a lot. I really need to. I can't wait to spend time with this version of Joel, and I'm really going to need to. It's kind of like I've said about other things. There's no adaptation that's going to be 100%, and I'm excited for what changes are going to be made because I do want to be shocked and surprise myself as well. Even though I know what happens in the game, and I'm sure they will do some different things in there. But I really want to see just how Pedro's Joel works, and what makes him, what defines him compared to the defined character that we've already seen. So, but great, he looks like he's going to have some fantastic interactions with Bella Ramsey, and that he's going to do a lot of action in not in a Mandalorian costume. So we'll see a lot more of him. And yeah, just generally quite impressed that they went with that direction. I think it was a bold choice to go with him, but clearly they see something, which I'm sure we will too.
Yeah, and I'm kind of in that vibe with you that there's something about him. And listen, I love the Mandalorian, I love him in it, but we're going to get to see him actually act more. And for a character as two-dimensional as Joel on the outside, obviously, as you said, we spend time with him, we play as him as a character. We learn so much more about him throughout that game, even when it's the off-cuff sentences when they're going through buildings and talking with one another. It's really incredible how they develop that character across literally a game and a chunk of the other. And kind of in turn of that, we've got Ellie, which I know Maisie Williams was rumored for years. We were never going to get her. That's fine. It made sense to casting in the mid-10s. There was always any up-and-coming actress was always linked with Ellie. And I guess it's a compliment within itself. Like, whenever like a young British actor comes through, it's like next James Bond, because they've done an action film and they're British and they're under 40. I felt like we had that with Ellie for a while. And obviously, when they cast Bella Ramsey, I was completely caught off guard. Now, I'm going to be absolutely blunt. I have only seen her in Game of Thrones. I know she was a lead in the Worst Witch remake they did up for TV. I know she's English. I'm going to kind of bring up Carl's comment where it's no discredit to actress. I'm struggling to see her as Ellie. I'm probably in the same vein at the moment. What I'm hoping is that with Pedro, established lead actor now, I really hope that she can come in as a supporting and make that jump from supporting to sort of lead in a really weird way. Because, again, I've not seen much from her, and the trailer is very much, I'd say, heavily marketed around Pedro more than her, would you say? I know that bit we get a little bit about her being, immune and whatnot, but what are the thoughts on the castings? I think, if I'm going to be honest, for both of the two of them, these are probably going to be two of the most discussed casting announcements in many years. Again, when you've got pre-established IP, a massive successful IP that's never, it's its first time being adapted. It's not like Dune where, we had a terrible version in the 80s. Now we'll do it properly. This is it's going to happen. It's a TV show. It's HBO. Who is it going to be? Original game director, successful producer. And the Bella Ramsey one jumped out to me. So they've got my faith in the role, in the performance. I think Sammy I think things will be a little bit different. But I'm hoping when we get development, when we get screen time, when we get the episodes coming in, I hope that it's going to work more in her favor in a really nice way, because I'm in a similar vein to you, Carl, at the moment. But what do you think as well with her? Because again, I've not seen her in much, and she hasn't been in that much as well. And obviously, she's a very young actress. Even this, I think, was this being filmed in 2020, like during the end of the first lockdown? So it's probably been a nightmare for them to film as well, which probably plays in its strength if they're going to do season 2, because they've all aged for about 4 or 5 years by then. But yeah, what are your thoughts?
I'm cautiously optimistic, actually. I was worried only because I know I think she was Mildred Hubble in The Worst Witch, and I saw the original TV show that was out in the late 90s. So I would happily watch that again, but one that's released in the late 2010s, is not really what I want to watch. So I never saw any of her in that. But that character is a great character, and I think she probably has done great in that. I know she had to leave that role. She left the series, and I can't remember what the reason was. But I was a bit worried for her after hearing that. I was like, oh, I hope she's okay. So I think that's why it shocked me that she got the role, because I don't know what had happened there. But clearly she's whatever place she's in now. I just hope that she was like mentally prepared, because I know how fans can be, and we've seen that across different series franchises. There's just a subset of people who are going to bully, who are going to push, who are going to not. If you have negative critiques, then critique, don't attack. And unfortunately, some people don't have that barrier to do that, and they will just go in. So I was worried, and in that sense,
it's happened
as well.
to this for Pedro as well. Pedro and Gabrielle Luna playing Tommy as well. Like, there has been that. Just wants to try to jump in with that too.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I mean, it's not just with Bella; it's with everyone else. And I think, in one way, it shows how passionate people are about the game, which is obviously fantastic. However, how you convey that is another thing, and I think people just need a lot of self-control before they go and type. But I feel like we've said that already anyway about other things too. But I feel like Bella Ramsey, from what I have seen, I think she can be very charismatic, and Ellie is a very charismatic character, and I think that's, for me, what is the strength of this. Ellie can go from so completely stupid and silly to dead serious, and there's such a vulnerability that we see her evolution, and I'm excited to see that for Bella, because I think because we've seen her in Game of Thrones, because she was so young in that, and she was, she wasn't vulnerable at all. Her vulnerability was her age, really. She was so strong in every other aspect. So it'll be nice to see how Bella plays this role, where she's not strong in the beginning of the game, but she does have some walls up, and I'm just excited to see how her relationship with Pedro works in this version, and how that's gonna evolve. And I know some of the main things that are going to happen that will bring them together is probably going to happen. But again, it's one thing to see it in live action and see how that goes. And I trust the producers, I trust casting, I trust Bella in making this work. I'm sure she would have known the importance anyway prior to actually the role being announced. So yeah, again, it's difficult with the limited screen time that we've seen, and it's I feel like it's going to be one of those things where it's like, we'll judge it episode by episode for sure, but I think it'll be one of those great things where it's a season 1 retrospective, or looking back, how has she changed, because it's going to be the same for Joel as well. It's going to be the same for to see that evolution. And I presume it'll be like the games where you kind of have a section, and there will be a bit of a time skip, not a large one, but it'll probably be like a month or a few weeks, whatever it is. So we'll see the different elements, how, because it's all, I think we go through each season in The Last of Us. So we'll probably see about around a year's worth of time within these 9 episodes. Depends on how they go with it. But we are going to see a significant amount of time, and that's going to really show what these characters are. But it's just down to the writing as well, really.
No, I'm kind of with you. And going off the trailer as well, obviously we now know. I mean, we knew Nick Offerman had been cast as Bill. Obviously, again, people that haven't played the game, something to be said now. We know that Frank is being cast in this, who we never got to meet in the game. which is, I guess, one of the first, the beauty of TV is you're going to get, I mean, I guess they spend more time with someone. No, that's compared to a film. Neil Druckmann has said that there will be changes, but he doesn't mean it in changes in the sense of we're just changing things. He means, i.e. Frank, like we will meet characters we didn't get to meet prior to build relationships. Because certainly when I think of Bill in it, you're literally with him for half an hour in the school and then you're gone. You're out. You're in another town. And kind of what you said earlier, you thought it could almost be like Andor, where we might get sort of story arcs with these different people across multiple episodes, which I think is probably actually the best way for them to do it. And kind of one of my big questions heading into the series is not how long is it going to be? We know it's 9 episodes for this first season. I guess what a lot of people are wondering is how many seasons are they going to do? Are they going to do The Last of Us Part 2? I think so. And I think this is a 3-season series, and I think we're going to get the first game covering the first season and a half, with that big moment happening probably into season 2. That's just literally if I was just going to guess on anything about the show, it's that 3-season structure. But I don't know how on earth they would then do a lot of part 2 into the game with it being a split narrative storyline. Obviously, you guys have played it and finished it, you'll know exactly what we mean by that. But it's one of them where just going back to this trailer, we're almost turning to a series preview, which is great at the same time because it kind of is. And obviously we're excited to see this, and it's over a month away, which is sort of frustrating at the same time. What I want to come in is actually just talk about the world, because we spoke about the characters, and the characters really did help make this. But even playing this game the first time back, I remember there was the moment where the giraffes walk across, which has obviously been like one of the big talking points as the years have come by. So much I enjoyed the game was just walking around. To me, it was like exploring buildings, looking for bullets, looking for what was it, like not screws, but you get the little things to improve the gun.
We need to improve. Like it's improving your armory. It's getting
Hills.
things, medical supplies. Yeah,
and I know you can't incorporate that into a TV show. I'm not blind, but I'm really excited to see how they go around the world, because the one thing that's really caught me off guard in a positive way of these trailers, well, certainly this trailer more so than the teaser, we're getting to see the different environments. And I don't like saying it doesn't look cheap, but you're more inclined to talk about The Walking Dead than me. I've seen the first episodes. I've followed it from afar. I've got a lot of friends that watch it. I used to know the spoilers every week because my friends are really into it in group chats. And it's something I've never cared for. And the more I read into it, the more excited I never got invested in it. But there are moments where, in a really sort of up itself way, I think The Last of Us is literally going to be like, not the HBO version of The Walking Dead, but The Walking Dead was a comic series that was kind of got incredibly popular, incredibly quickly, and then dropped off a cliff when they hit their peak. And I think The Last of Us, there's too much quality in the source material for them to do that. And the main thing I feel is we're going to go to different environments, which maintains that quality. Those trailers going the abandoned rooms, that doesn't look like cheap. That doesn't look like stagecraft tech. That looks like actual sets that are expensive to build, to shoot in. And they've gone all out on those designs for us for this show, which I think is a very big deal.
Yeah, I think the Walking Dead comparison is a fair one to make, and it's something that I have thought about anyway since The Last of Us has been announced. So, I mean, I started watching The Walking Dead towards the end of season 6, and then, which is, funnily enough, where a lot of people say it's their last bit watching it, because season 7's where a lot of people dropped off. I dropped off during season 8, but I think seasons 1 to 6 of The Walking Dead for me is gold star Walking Dead. I think it's majority of the time pretty consistently good. And I think a lot of that is one due to some great characters in there, and because it's constantly moving. There's bits of seasons or full seasons where they are at one place, but they're never in one place for more than probably about. I think the longest is staying in one place in those 1 to 6 seasons is about 24 episodes, which is a significantly long time. But they go out on runs, they go to places. There's different perspectives. You got people in completely different groups. That just expands following season 6, and there is more of we're in several communities in one place. So I think you lose that sense of wonder. You lose the scare of the zombies or the walkers, I should say. So you lose that fear. The great thing about the early seasons is the fear is still there, and the walkers are a threat. And I think because it's a group of people, because it's and there's a number of main characters, you are following a lead character, but which was Rick Grimes, Andrew Lincoln, but there's so many other characters to think about as well, which is, I think, a blessing and a curse, because it means that you can get some real shock value out of anyone being killed off, but you also get some good character development and interactions between different types of people. The great thing about The Last of Us is that the majority of it is going to be spent on Joel and Ellie, and that allows those characters to take center stage way more than anyone else in The Walking Dead. The other thing about that is The Last of Us is a journey. As we've said, it's going from A to B, and that is the main plot for the first game, and this series is to get Ellie from one place to another, and we go on that with them. It's kind of the same with The Walking Dead, but it's essentially we need to find a place to feel safe. So they will find safe places, and then some of it just doesn't work out, and then you're moving on. So it's like a constantly shifting thing, and I think that can be a great thing. It can be a bad thing. But it's also funny as well, because like you said, The Walking Dead came from a comic, and then it went into quite a popular video game as well. Prior to
Telltale, wasn't it?
Yeah, just prior to becoming. And I think everyone played season 1 of Telltale's The Walking Dead. I think a lot of people, and which has a very similar vibe in terms of there's a large group of people, but there's the leading man, young female character, and working together with others to get somewhere, and then it ends horribly in the first season, and you got to carry on with just her. So there are definitely some similar things there, and I think The Walking Dead's done a great job. But like you said, HBO is kind of like the next level. I think AMC did what they could, and they are still going with their spin-offs, and I'm excited to kind of hear about how that goes. But HBO is a different beast, and I know what you said before about we want Disney's The Last of Us, and you're right. I think there's a reason why The Sopranos is such a prestige show. There's a reason why Game of Thrones, for the majority of its run, was talked about everywhere. You're allowed to go that extra mile, and the content in The Last of Us is not, I would love to say it's not super explicit, but there are moments that could absolutely be explicit. What I trust about having HBO, but also the video game creators behind it as well, is that I'm sure there's going to be that mix of, right, what can we do and what can we not do? And I think that's the other thing. Just because you have the platform to do everything doesn't mean that you should do. And that's why it's the good thing about, having, Frank being in the show, having bits of Left Behind in this. You can actually weave the story to make it fit for television. And I think The Walking Dead did that very well, but I think HBO and with Last of Us, I think they could probably do it even better. But again, I think that's going to be something that we're going to have to really look at in retrospect, and I would be happy to do those comparisons one day.
No, it's pretty great, and I'm glad you brought Left Behind as well. We know that we had Simon bring up earlier in the chat. Left Behind was amazing because you're going back to the early mid-10s for the story DLC that you have to pay for. That at least it was actually story DLC. And like nowadays, it's like we've released a third of a game and buy the other 2/3. I remember playing that, and I was like, "Oh, great! It's like Ellie's backstory." And here we are 9 years later, and we know it's imperative that this is, and not like it has to be included. It was like, "Oh, great! That's from Left Behind. People might not have played that. People haven't heard of it." But we're going to get all of Ellie's character development, whether it's through flashbacks, whether it's through like a prologue of some kind. I doubt we're going to get that because of Sarah. But we know it's in there because it's in the trailer, which is a great moment. And I'm really excited to see how they warped in. Kind of what we're going. We said you've got the director of the game, you've got a producer. This is a terrible comparison, but it's the only one because we spoke about the Mandalorian a lot. You know the Jon Favreau, Dave Filoni thing. I'm not comparing the quality of their work to this. Dave Filoni is very much the George Lucas protege. When Jon Favreau puts forth an idea or a concept, I know there is a story group as well, but I know that it's Filoni saying, "Oh, that can't be done, and this is why." And I feel that that's going to be the same case. That what I'm hoping, and maybe we'll get more info as the season ends and we get to the junkets and more interviews come around, is when we get the director and producer. The producer of the series and the director of the game. Their working relationship, I think, is going to be really important to how this show works. And I think this actually has the potential to again surpass prior video game adaptations. I know there's not a high standard, but there is still that fear that will be thrown around that it's a video game adaptation and they don't always work. Hey, you got some great ones like Sonic, and I'll say this: bar a voice actor, Mario looks superb. Bar
Right.
one voice actor, but it just had to be the voice actor for the main character. They got wrong. It's kind of like, you know, when Sonic was released and they got bullied into doing a new Sonic. Now, listen,
that's what everyone was commenting, though. Everyone was commenting the same thing. It's like, we did it for Sonic, so maybe they'll do it for Mario. I was like, they're not going to do that. But
it's so bad because it should never be her, and it's not the CGI team's fault. It's not the fans' fault. Whichever creative studio head greenlit that first Sonic design, and then the poor staff had to pay the consequences from terrible decision making. That first Sonic film would never have worked. That'd have been dead. And Mario's going to be huge. Mario's going to be a massive success. All the foreign dubs have got great Mario voices. So there's loads of people joking they might watch it in Italian.
The Wahoos are a lot better. I think the German Wahoo or something is top notch.
And this is it. And it looks great. And it comes out during Star Wars Celebration as well. So everyone's going to be in London. So it's Nip Theatre 2 over the road. But aside from that, with this game, I think there's a lot of potential. And it's hard to because we haven't got a thorough schedule. I really want to bring up one thing. And I've never cried playing a video game. Not that it's a proud thing. It's just I don't know if people do that for games. But I've been close once. And it's obviously the Sam and Henry stuff from The Last of Us. And every time I replay the game, it gets to the scene of the next morning. And we know what's happened. We know what's about to happen again. We've seen it before. When they cast the actors for this, I was like, oh my God, we're going to get Sam and Henry on the TV show. And now I've seen the trailers, but they've got their own posters now. I'm just not saying there's been memes, but if you go on any Last of Us promo for Sam and Henry on Twitter, go read the comment section. And a lot of them use, I don't know if you're familiar with the Riddler meme, and it's the does he know? And it's the weird, creepy smile.
Oh.
And it's like everyone who's played the game reading this, it's like these, what's the guy from Incredible? Mr. Incredible. You know, it's got like the black and white face. It's like those that haven't played the game. I'm smiling. I'm just going to say this. If that scene and that storyline, again, I think this is going to be a benefit of being on TV. I think we could get 2 episodes with them. That's going to be one of the most brutal moments in TV history, if I'm being honest. That'll be up there with some of the stuff we've seen. And I think it's these kind of things that watching that trailer, it's bringing me back to the game. I want to play it now. I shouldn't. I'm going to wait after the series is done. But it really does make you go back to your experiences playing it. And I guess the big jump between film and TV is not the fact that you're not playing it anymore. Is, you know, they're writing out the things that aren't the cutscenes. The actions are going to be in there, but it's not going to be a 20-minute conquest for you to get to the building. We're going to see this, and I think we're going to get so much more development in the characters and the writing that a lot of these supporting characters, I think, there's not necessarily criticism in the game because it's not the purpose, but the supporting characters are probably as developed as they could be in the game. But I think there's far more open space for them to be developed in TV. And I think looking at the first season, going up to, you know, we know we're going to get Frank. He's in the trailer. There is an actor cast. I've seen how many episodes he's going to be in it for. We are going to get up to Frank's storyline, for those who know what that is. Not Frank, sorry. David, sorry, not Frank. The stuff of David and his crew. We know we're going to get that. Whether that's moving into season 2, whether it's cliffhanger stuff, whether it's, you know, we discussed before, and I don't mean that it could be across the end of the season, start next season. It could be all done and dusted. We know how far we're going to get up to. I don't think we're going to get past there this season. And kind of segueing with that, I'd love to put it on the spot. I don't need you to remember like names because we spoke hard, like when they're all one word names as well, and they're like, obviously it's not like Star Wars where, remember Greedo? Yeah, we all recognize that name. Yeah. It's like these are very human names. You know, Joel, Ellie, Frank, David. I feel like I've forgotten loads of others. Sam, Henry. But what are you looking forward to? Like maybe like a supporting character, a side piece that's going to pop up into it.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's also the good thing about this is that it is quite realistic, as realistic as it can be. I mean, we've not talked, and I guess we might talk about like the zombie issue after, but I think for me, maybe Tess actually. I actually really liked having a trio. I thought it was good to kind of get, because Tess feels like her own completely different kind of persona, perspective. That's completely different from Joel's. We don't know what. I feel like her backstory is kind of shrouded a little bit. I would like to know a bit more about her, because when she departs, the game, it's sad, but you can't really focus on it because you're kind of in the middle of action. So, and I think that's a lot of things of this game. I remember, I think it's right after that. It's not long after that we meet Sam and Henry in the game, is it?
Yeah.
So it is kind of like a boom, 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 go from one to another. And I probably feel more bad about Tess than I do about Sam and Henry, if I'm honest. Even though that bit, I think if it's done right, will be excellent. I think interactions with Marlene. I think definitely, when it gets to the end, I don't believe we'll get to that point at the end of this season. But I'm so interested to see how that plays out, because for me, it's a pivotal point in this entire. I mean, there's only 2 games so far, but in this entire franchise, the Joel choice at the end of the first game is so important, and it makes the entire game so much more worth it because you understand him 100% about why he does what he does, and ultimately, great things happen, bad things happen because of it. But the whole thing about this game, this show is your choice about things, and it's going through this realistic post-apocalyptic world, going on this journey. It's so filled with different types of emotions because you can really appreciate the beauty of kind of this fallen world. And there's this skyscraper leaning on another skyscraper at one point, and all the water-filled places and whatnot. You get that to all the tense situations, to full-on scares, like absolute full-on scares. I mean, playing the game and the first and second one in the dark on your own with no knowledge about what's going to happen, it can, scare you quite a lot. But I think that's what's so good about the game is that it does, check off everything that I would probably want in a game like this. So if the show can replicate that, which in some ways they'll be able to do it seamlessly, in other ways it is going to be a bit more difficult. That's the really intriguing thing. And I think what you mentioned before about, there's bits of side dialogue that's thrown here and there that helps fill the blanks, and especially if you're just walking from place to place. I would love it if that, aside from just kind of characters, I would love for some of that dialogue to kind of take a bit more precedence, because we are going to have to focus on it a bit more, because we can't just rely on looking around at the environment and picking things up, because I'm sure that's still going to happen, but that's not going to be the focus like it is for us as a player. We have to just sit there as a viewer and not do anything. So I think they've got a lot of pressure to make that work, but I'm quite confident.
No, very well said. And Tess is a great one you mentioned. We're not spoke about, and that's one of the characters in the game that I feel, I mentioned you don't get the development on them. It ends very sudden, and we spent, she is very much the introduction of Joel and Ellie as well. And she's that middle
third, of the game, I'd say.
Maybe even less than that, like
the last
quarter. And that's what I'm excited for with some of these characters that are going to come in, and very much off these trailers, the world looks like the world of The Last of Us. It doesn't look like they've gone to a farm. And okay, I know there's a farm Walking Dead, so maybe by comparison, but it's like that's clearly just being shot on a field, or there's an empty studio. It looks like a run-down building. And again, I've not seen Chernobyl. I obviously know what Chernobyl's about. If you're going to get some of that production design carryover, that's going to go so far. And I guess The Last of Us was always compared to A Quiet Place, which I think is one of the few good things that's done that post-apocalyptic, like, used world. I think it's a very difficult thing to do, and I don't think there's a wrong way to do post-apocalyptic, if I'm being actually honest. But when you get the ones that, you have like the overgrown trees and all that sort of stuff, they're the ones that really, I think, sit there with the imagery for you. And this is looking like it's going to have. We've got a great question by Carl. What story elements, if any, would you change? Oof.
Oh.
Okay, so it's a tough one because I could split it in two. I could say what I don't want in this season and what I do. I'm going to be blunt. I didn't want David in season 1. But then again, if it's going to be the latter end of season 1, it might work better. Then I'm not sure what the plan is season 2. If I was to change any story, and this is going to be very controversial, I didn't know who those characters were in the trailer, who they're talking to about Joel. They scared Joel. The two sat in the chair. Not necessarily a change, but if they're adding in not new characters, but if they're adding in new story, new people, that's something I like to see more of. But it's not really a proper answer to the question. If I was to change anything, I'm going to be that guy. Bring in Abby. I'm going to phrase this correctly. Obviously, if you've played the games, you know who Abby's dad is. I think probably season 2, there's room to put her in. Not as a, hey, look at this person. They'll be a big trouble down the line. Very much a very minute, this person's been in an episode or two, but you haven't met her or got to know her. Almost like how Game of Thrones, like the supporting characters would get developed 5 years later. Kind of like that.
Yeah.
But story elements, oh God, it's tricky because it's just so perfect, the game. Sam, please say
I'll say I've got something.
A great question.
It is a really great question, and I think that is testament to the game because you don't think. I mean, at least for the first game, for many people, they'll say nothing needs to be changed. My thing would be, and it's more of an addition than kind of changing something that's already there. But I would actually love to, after the initial setup and once we get the story, really moving, I would love to actually see, a bit of Marlene's point of view and the Doctor and everything that's going on with the Fireflies, because I feel like there's so much mystery around it, which is a great thing and can be good for the show. But another thing that's important about a show set in a post-apocalyptic world is that for most people in it, whatever group you're in, whatever, and it was the same with The Walking Dead, a lot of people, oh, this person saved me, or so I rely on them, or oh, I need to pay them back, so it doesn't really matter what we do. So there's that element, and a lot of people think, oh, we're in the right, we're the good guys. And that's the awful thing, because what the Fireflies doing is positive on the whole. They are doing things for the greater good, but you mess with one person, you completely flip that whole thing around and you look like complete villains. And I think it's important to kind of understand, to get mixed levels of everyone, because when it comes to a world like that, no one is completely innocent because everyone has to do such terrible, difficult things. Obviously, you've got those who are awful and use that world to their advantage to do, the worst things possible, which some of those people we will meet. But I think to get that perspective and to kind of see how things are going, because I think it makes the ending of the game, and will hopefully make the end of this storyline more tragic, because I feel like getting to understand what these people are doing and to see their ultimate end or something would be kind of like, oh no, you didn't know everything, and maybe they were going about that the wrong way, but there should have been another way. I'm getting very much like Doctor Who, Warriors of the Deep. If anyone's seen that, where bloodbath, everyone dies apart from the Doctor and the companions, and then the Doctor just goes, there should have been another way, and then and it ends like that. That's just the kind of the vibe that I get. That sometimes it's like people just need to talk, and they don't do that. So I think to actually see it, because we have the luxury as the audience to do that, and that's what I would do, because I find it very difficult to think about any specific story elements that I would either take out, switch,
And it's what I would want to follow. It's not a change I'd make. I really hope that the prologue is kept as a prologue. The Sarah's death is the opening 20 minutes.
Yeah.
I know it's very TV orientated to do a backstory across multiple episodes. I think start off with the outright prologue, have introduced Joel, and then Ellie's backstory you could probably do week to week in little tidbits here and there. Ironically, I'm thinking of The Mandalorian again from season 1. It's because of Pedro Pascal, I promise you all. But No, it's such a great question, and that's it. Like the politics of it. Like I get it's not a political show, but as you're right, the Fireflies is glossed over. And when you go into that online, if anyone played the online on those games, that was very upfront with like, here's the rebels, here's the people in power, here's this, here's that. And I think I'd like to get a bit more of that. And I think again, TV you can lean into that. I guess it really depends. How long are they going to hope this goes for? I say hope. How long will this go for? Have they got the material? I mean, I've just been reading up as well on the on those two new characters. They're going to be called Marlon and Florence, and they live, quote, in the wilderness of Wyoming. There's no other details, and that's great because I want them to spend time with people. They don't need to die. You can leave it open ended, and I think kind of what we said earlier with developing some of the supporting characters. I think Bill's going to be the one where he's the first, not big name you meet, but Bill's the first like companion not from the hood. That sounds really bad, but it's like he's not in a quarantine zone, and he's the first one you're going to spend a lot of time with those two out by themselves. And I think if they get that story arc right with Bill, and listen, you've got Nick Offerman, who is legendary, not just because he played Ron Swanson. Also, he was great in Pam and Tommy earlier this year, but he's going to get the chance to get some acting going. And he's going to be Mission Impossible next year as well. So he's going to have an absolute right over 2023. But yeah, no, it's such a wonderful question. Carlos, I'll comment if anything you would as well, not to put you on the spot, but it's a really good question. So I'm quite excited to see what they do. And kind of a side one, I don't ever feel that Tommy gets developed much in the game with his partner. I know the whole point is that they went off and did their own thing, but Gabriel Luna, I feel, did he play? Oh God, I've not seen it. Did he play Ghost Rider on Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.? I feel like I recognize him.
I never saw it, but
I haven't watched it, but I feel like he was in that. I could be wrong. But again, I've not seen that. So I feel if they've got someone that's got a bit of a repertoire at least,
yes,
he'll be in it a bit more. Perfect. So this is it. And the thing is, this show has so much potential, and I'm just excited to see what they do with it, because again, we're over a month out. We're not gonna lie, we haven't not scheduled this. We haven't got an in-play template system of what we're going to discuss with this, because it's very weird to trade discussion about a series that's out a very long time away. There's a new series that is an adaptation of a game arguably, to me, easily the best game that's ever been made. But if we're going to kind of follow that very quickly, we've not mentioned the soundtrack. We don't need to say in a really nice way too much, but obviously the big thing is Gustavo Santaolalla. I can never pronounce his name. Gustavo Santaolalla. I've butchered that. I'm so sorry. Winner of back-to-back Oscars in the early noughties. I think he did Brokeback Mountain and something the following year. Worked with Gonzalo and Aritu quite a lot. The moment I think he was in the original announcement, was when they said, we're doing a show. Neil Druckmann's involved. Oh, by the way, music's going to be Gustavo. He's already in. That's a big relief. That's your John Williams coming back for the Star Wars sequels type cue that you need to carry that over. And the last few beats of the trailer was I know it's the guitar, but that soundtrack on a TV is going to be incredible. And I'm quite excited to see what they do. I don't think they'll make changes as such, but the fact he will now have a 9-episode first season to compose, I think is going to be quite exciting. But what do you think of the score? I know it's very weird to talk about the score of a game, but
yeah, and I think the thing with the score is that there's a lot of silence in The Last of Us as well, because a lot of it is talking and a lot of just walking outside of any action. That's the focus, and the focus is on the visuals a lot. So, sometimes the score is either not there at all or it's very quiet. But it always fits the vibe. And because it's so acoustic, it feels very natural, which fits with the world that you're in, because you don't hear electronic, you don't hear all these different instruments. So it's very stripped back, which fits completely with this. And I think I know I'm going to compare to Walking Dead again, but Walking Dead uses a lot of kind of is similar in that vein as well, but it's more, I feel like there's a bit more orchestral in there, not full orchestra at all, but just you can hear sometimes there's strings involved and whatnot. And it's all of those things where pre kind of industrial revolution and before like all the instruments that we have today, it feels like, oh right, well this sound could still have been made back then before that. And I feel like that's kind of the vibe that it goes for. It's like we're using the tools that we have to make something out of it. And we know that music is an important thing eventually to Ellie and to Joel, and is that as well. So, you know, it'd be good to get, you know, of course, what the score is going to be, but how music influences the two of them as well. And what's going to happen there. I think that's another thing that I'm kind of interested about, the dynamic between those two. I think also, just whilst talking about music, I know in the trailer, I know I've seen some negative reactions actually to Take On Me being in the trailer, and I kind of understand from the point of, we are a few years into the whole, we're going to take a song and make it dramatic for a trailer. Now it's happened a lot, and I get that, but at the same time, I feel like there's so many different varieties of song out there, different genres that are made to do that. Sometimes it just, you go, what? Is that even possible? But it works. So I didn't mind the song being used, and the thing is, I was so enthralled with what I was seeing anyway that didn't really affect me much, or maybe go, oh, well, that's just being pushed in there for no reason.
Yeah, I mean, Take On You just reminds me of what was that PS2 game back in the day? The TV advert was the lips that would move, and you'd have to sing into a microphone. It's not Guitar Hero.
SingStar.
SingStar. I feel like Take On You was like one of the SingStar like advert games, so I always remember it from that. But this is kind of the show that, you know, music's going to play an important part in this. And speaking of the music, I'm not going to get into a conversation about cameos or references or whatnot, but I always remember in the games, certainly in the second one, it's like, oh look, a PS3 with some old games. Are we going to get an Uncharted disc? And like, oh, what's this? Sony product placement, and it's like a PS5.
Well, I've not played Uncharted, but they had Crash Bandicoot in that, didn't they?
Yeah,
and
they
the
had Naughty Dog put a lot in there.
I know, and as someone who's played Crash Bandicoot, like I was, you know, Naughty Dog. I was very much kind of like, oh, Naughty Dog was one who's made Last of Us fabulous. Oh, it's a great game, fantastic. There's got to be something. I'm sure there's got to be something in there. There'll be an Easter egg at least.
And that's it. And I don't mind stuff like that. I'm just not that. I'm not people that just leech upon let's get references and that. And but I'm. It's Sony, and we all know what Sony are like when they get the chance to put, you know, even Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse, one of the best anime films. It's like boom, Sony logo on the headphones. Make sure you all read it. I say that wearing Sony headphones. But yeah, it will be interesting, and that's what I'm kind of curious about. That, you know, the pre, not pandemic, but pre, you know, apocalypse. Is it going to be set now? Is it going to be set in 2013 like the game? I'm curious about all these things that are going to come together, and without getting snobby with the film terms, things like mise en scene. I'm just so excited to look around. I mean, I know we can't literally, but I'm excited to see the set designs and how everything's going to look in the different areas. I think it's going to add a whole new layer to the experience.
Yeah. And I was going to say, actually, talking just a bit about, you know, the question about what you would change or whatever. I think if there's any potential to see if we do get some focus on some supporting characters or side characters, because what I loved about The Walking Dead, the very few times that they did it, was that they would flash back to when the apocalypse was starting, when the Walker outbreak started, and you would get some flashbacks to what happened. Oh, these people were in a traffic jam and they met each other through that, and then that's how, you know, you eventually see them all together in the first episode. You know, it's like, okay, they were there. You get, you know, in season 9 or season 10, you get a flashback of someone that you didn't meet prior to season 6. So it's like, oh right, wow, we're going real far back to see what happened with them. So I think that would be really important, because I think, again, it's one of those things where, because there's a time jump anyway between the prologue and when the main game starts, for most characters, you don't know anything about what happened or how did they react, how did they get to this point now. And you know, because based on Joel, there's so much change that can happen for a person. So how did that become that? Like, I would love to see, how did the evil characters, were they always like that, or you know, what made them? Because some people do
solemn origin for David when he like tried his first demon.
Yeah, well, I'm never gonna be sympathetic towards that character, but I would just be interested to be like, because you know, there's cannibals. I mean, in most post-apocalyptic shows, there's a cannibal storyline, and there was in The Walking Dead. I know in The Road, which is based on the novel, which then became a film, there's a very distressing cannibal section to that, which is like, oh my god. But I think it's interesting because, you know, I think in The Walking Dead, not to give too much spoilers and to mention it again, but the people who do that, I think we're led to believe that they were actually good people, but they were very trusting and they let the wrong people in there. And a lot of people were abused, killed, you know, sexually abused as well. And that they realized, no, we've got to sit together and we're just not going to care about anyone else. Anyone else who comes, we're going to kill him. Oh, we may as well eat him, I guess, is what we don't get too much time with them. But it's just kind of that, oh, I see why it's happened. I just don't agree with it at all. You know what I mean? So I think this is the opportunity that they've got, you know, here.
No, definitely. It's really well said that. And I think there would be some good stuff, especially the more I think about the Bill and Frank stuff. I'm not going to make a prediction for that sort of thing, but I wouldn't be surprised if one of the big changes is that Frank's still dead, but Bill's just speaking to him and we're going to literally see him. Without giving a spoiler from the best like British one was ever, like Dead. If anyone's seen Dead Man's Shoes, that's literally what I'm talking about now. That will be presented with a character who's never existed, and it will be this mega moment at the end of it. Doubt that's going to happen, but there's so much potential of this, and we've been going for about over an hour and 10. We thought, oh yeah, we'll be done in an hour. Not in a horrible way. We love talking Last of Us. But what we'll do, we'll segue into our final thoughts on the trailer. And it's hard to really hype up a trailer because it's not the series, but in terms of getting me hyped up for one of the shows I've been looking forward to since the day it got announced, it's done a very good job of that. It's calmed a lot of my, not issues, but I'm very much, I trust the process of what they're doing. I think from what I've seen, pretty much everything's gone to plan. Again, I don't just need a copy and paste slab with it in live action. Ironically, I say that, and I don't mind a few of the Disney live action remakes, but I think there's enough in here for it to really stamp its own authority, and I'm just incredibly excited for the show to start. Listen, I'm at a point now where I have like Sky Go, so I do get to watch stuff like this. But I'm now like, do I go all out? Do I get this new Sky thing where you can have it for like a month? It's not Now TV, it's like an actual new Sky box. Do I go all out for a 4K streaming package with Dolby Atmos? All this stuff, I don't know. But I can tell you this, I'm ridiculously hyped for this show. And I just can't wait to start watching it when the time comes. And I'm so anxious in that excitement as well.
Ditto, as John Cusack said in Addams Family Values. But no, it's one of like seeing clickers on screen, hearing them, seeing that blow to crawl at. It's just, again, I feel like similar to Star Wars, although probably not as intense as that you kind of feel that sense of, oh, you'll never see this, you know, on screen, or like on TV. It's one thing to either see something in the cinema, play something in a game, to get something that's going to be like a weekly thing that's going to be in the main zeitgeist. You know, it's rare that those things happen, let alone work. So yeah, I mean, for people who don't know, I'm so excited for the people who have no idea. Yeah. I mean, one, I feel bad for them because they missed out on a game, but two, to be able to experience this and to experience some elements, because I mean, when you first, you know, get to zombies and then to these absolutely horrific things and knowing what that's done to a person, I think that's the other thing about, you know, the HBO element. I mean, we're going to see people be put through some absolutely horrendous things. Yeah. I mean, and I know there's a thing from the second game where you just like tape recordings and of things changing and all of that stuff. And
yeah,
I don't know if I feel like I sound horrible by wanting to see kind of an evolution of that as well and see what happens, because we've now learned as people who've played the games, you've learned so much about it that you kind of just want to sit like just see how that pans out, because it's such a unique way of a virus, you know, isn't it? You know, a lot of it is, oh well, it's just some medical stuff. Oh, this got sent. This is like, it's a fungus. It's so different to anything that I've seen, read about, played. And I think that just adds a whole different layer to things because you know, it's wearing the mask, it's being in claustrophobic areas. It's a lot of light and dark here. Yeah, there's so much to be hyped about. I don't think if anyone's watching who hasn't seen this, haven't played, I don't think you really understand how big of a deal it is that this is off the ground and this is going to happen. I mean, you played it when you were 17. 16, 17. I was 19. You know, it is one of those things where it's like you were at kind of these weird ages and you're playing this game that's such kind of an important thing. And then to think it's only been 10 years. It's less than 10 years and this is about to happen.
I know, it's mad. That makes me feel old. And this is it. And I think you're right. You know, it's going to be interesting how it develops. And even with the game, you know, you spend time, large chunks of the game, you're not even with zombies. There's no clickers. There's nothing. You're with humans who are the enemy. And that's what is where the game really lends itself to that. Like, it's not just them hiding away from them. They're out there. They're a threat. But the real threat is the humanity around you and what's left. So there's so much. And he's right. If you haven't played the game, honestly, get it now. Get it played by, you got, what, 6 weeks, 5-6 weeks until the first 6 weeks, I think. 6 weeks will be the first video. Christ. I hope my maths is right. And that being said, we might as well second that. So we're going to be doing weekly spoiler discussions on the channel. They're going to kickstart Monday, the 16th of January. There's no time. It's very long way away. But they will be on Mondays. Me and Sam spoke about before. Maybe you're asking, where is Tate? Right now, Tate is currently traveling to Austria. He's driving over there for a season, as he always does. He will check in for some videos. He'll be on some streams, some reviews, some things. He's not played The Last of Us. And I had this chat with him yesterday. So obviously when I was prepping this video, Sam, I spoke to you first. I was like, today is going to be the day where we talk about the game stuff. And then I think when we're on the spoiler discussions, we might have different people on every week that come on as guests like we do with Star Wars. We really nice way to bring on loads of people. There'll be some that haven't played the game. There'll be some that haven't played it but have seen the watch-alongs, and I don't agree with that. I know someone that I follow who's really nice, and she kind of said that she couldn't ever play the game, so she watched it. I get that. That's still not playing the game. That's my really sad and pathetic. But it's like reading a book. I don't classify you reading a book if you listen to an audiobook. Yes, you've got the information, but it's two different entities. And that's really OCD of me, not anything else. But what a way to segue out of hyping up a Last of Us review.
I was going to say, you're blind, listeners to this. They're going to love that you said that, George.
I just slated how they read/listen to books. They're not reading, they're listening. But anyway, comment below your thoughts on The Last of Us. Please, as I said, do comment your thoughts. Thank you for everyone that's been in the stream so far today. We love going live, we love talking this. And again, because we can't really talk game stuff on the channel, it's great when the chances come through, and this being a weekly series is going to be a phenomenal way to kickstart 2023. And the last couple of episodes are going to be airing in sync with The Mandalorian, which is going to be a double bit of Pedro Pascal every week. I think that's like the last 2 episodes of Last of Us cross over The Mandalorian, but luckily they're Mondays and Wednesdays, not Mondays and Mondays, or else we would be screwed. Aside from that, if you want to find us on social media, if you want to follow us to find out what videos are coming soon, and they've been on a bit of a quiet one the last couple of weeks, you can find us on Twitter and Instagram at cinema_savvy, Facebook and letterboxd.com/cinemasavvy. A link to Redbubble in the description. If you are wondering what's next, there's a couple of things. So Pinocchio is going to be streaming this Friday, the Guillermo del Toro version, which we're very much looking forward to seeing. I didn't get the chance to see it at the cinemas. Like all the great Netflix films, they show them for like a week at ridiculous times that no one can go to in cinemas very far away. So that hits streaming this Friday. Tate will be joining me for that one. There's no date yet. When he's settled in, we'll figure out dates and stuff to work around him. And yes, there's going to be another home media review for a classic film from 1995. Not hard to guess which one. Directed by a certain Quentin Tarantino. That's going to come up later this week. There's obviously been delays with strikes. Up the workers, I will say. I'm with them. Stand by them fully. Read into it if you're curious about why they are striking at this time of year and the preposterous pay that's been put forward. And this is a political channel, but honestly, don't be grieved if your deliveries aren't coming. Just post them as early as you can. Pulp Fiction 4K Ultra HD UHD disc review will come out at some point. And tomorrow, I'm going to receive a lovely care package featuring the best film of the year again. I'm going to do another video on Top Gun Maverick. Might not be tomorrow night, but there is a lovely box that's just came out, which I'm going to do an unboxing video for, which I've been asked to do by the PR company. I paid for this myself, by the way, so this isn't like one of those weird PR drops where it's all free. There's a really cool double 4K Steelbook collection that's just been released today. So there's a few things coming up. We've not got too much planned. As I said, there's going to be another series. Avatar's out next Friday. There'll be a big review on the Monday that follows then. That'll be a live one to discuss The Way of Water. So there are films coming. As I said, now I'm up here. Now I've been able to move. Things can be a little bit back to normal planning things. But obviously this time of year, World Cup, football, and a few other things. Yeah, as and when, social media. But I've been talking for ages. Sam, I want to say not just thank you for coming on tonight, taking time out of your Monday evening. But firstly, I don't know the origins of our conversation all those months ago, but I'm glad I know someone that likes The Last of Us that's comfortable coming on videos, because it was great to have you on. And I know we're going to get you on for those reviews. Not I'm telling you have to be on everyone. But,
I mean, you can tell me. I mean, it's fine. I will,
It's just keep your Monday nights free from January the 15th, innit?
Cool.
But not by authority. We're not horrible people. We didn't lock you here. But no, it's been a pleasure talking Last of Us. As I said to everyone in the comments, Dave's joined us. Dave, we're leaving now. You can watch us on loop. Thank you as always. Beware at the start of the video we mentioned about potential spoilers. I don't know if you play Last of Us. You used to have an Xbox, so I don't know. But yes, that is going to do it for tonight's video. Thank you all for watching, and we'll see you on the next one. Take care.